Imposter syndrome is the experience of debilitating doubt of skill and talent, despite evidence of success. While a common symptom of high achievers and perfectionists, imposter syndrome is frequently the consequence of discrimination, bias, stereotypes, racism, and elitism. Imposters dwell in a persistent fear of being exposed as incompetent or inadequate, a fear that triggers self-doubt, anxiety, burnout, stalled growth, externalization of success, and avoidance. To disrupt this phenomenon for our students, we are asking graduates to share stories from college and career to normalize the experience. This is one of our conversations.
Part 1.
Welcome to Imposter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Did you want to go by Precious Jackson, Hubbard, what?
Precious.
Doctor?
Yeah. Doctor feels good, but it's not it's not necessary.
Okay, cool.
In this space.
So we're here with Precious, who's got a unique experience when it comes to Lincoln High School. You've seen this place in many different sort of iterations and from many different perspectives. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that we can find something new about Lincoln and explore your experience a little bit today.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go ahead and start at the beginning. You in the community. You grew up in Southeast, grew up around Lincoln?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised right here in Southeast. My mom grew up in Salola Apartments, even though that's not the official name, but that's what we call it.
Right.
And my mom was a senior here at Lincoln when she got pregnant with me. So
there's legacy.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was almost born here, except I was born in September and they graduated in June.
Okay.
But yeah, I've literally been here since my inception and stayed here until I went off to college. So I used to not lie, but I used to say it as if I believed it and I knew it wasn't true, that my blood was green. There was no way that I bled red.
Yeah. The metaphor is accurate. My experience here at the Hive since 2007 is, literally the idea of once you're a hornet, you're always a hornet.
Always. Yeah. A hornet for life sounds on the surface like such a simple statement, but it's so much deeper than that. And you can't deny it. You can't walk away from it. It's almost like, how you don't get to choose your family members. Once you're a part of Lincoln, you can't undo that. Positive or negative.
Yeah.
You can't undo it.
That's a fair statement. Positive or negative. So, what was it like growing up in the neighborhood then?
Man, there were some good and some bad. The community is rich. And when you say, usually you hear rich, you think, dollar signs and green bills, but it's rich in culture. It's rich in legacy. I remember when I was a student here at Lincoln and we didn't have the football field, there were homes there. And there were people who had lived there for 30, 40, 50 years. And it was the type of community where you couldn't do something and then get away with it without an adult knowing.
So, yeah, there you go.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so there was that sense of shared responsibility, shared accountability. And so even if you were acting up in the street, which a lot of young people were, there was some shared accountability that we all took to hold each other responsible.
Yeah. I miss that.
The corner store experience. So I have a really funny story. There was, I used to stop by the corner store every day before going to elementary, middle school, not so much high school because then I started driving, but the guy that worked at the corner store literally watched me grow up. And so if I didn't go by there in the morning, when I did, he'd be like, "What's up? You didn't stop by yesterday." And he was older than me, but we were close enough in age that by the time I was a senior, he was like, "So do you have a date to prom? We got to make sure that you are taken care of and, make sure he's a good guy and he takes good care of you." He was so invested. And he just worked at the corner store.
Yeah.
So that sense of
Other
community was
brothering,
real. Yeah.
right? Other
Mm-hmm.
brothering from the corner store.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then unfortunately he was shot. They robbed the corner store and he was killed. And when he was killed, like, it rocked the neighborhood. Like, he didn't have to die. He shouldn't have died. No one should. But we were thinking it shouldn't have been him because he watched so many of us grow up. He was kind to everyone. He was respectful to everyone. But that's just one example of like many things that was great about growing up in Southeast, particularly the Lincoln Park neighborhood, right? Because there's a lot to Southeast, but I'm talking about Lincoln Park.
Yeah. We you just mentioned the loss of someone that everyone seemed to love and get along with. We just recently had a student commit suicide, and the impact is substantial.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were sort of taken aback by it because he was the same kind of personality you're talking about. Seemed to care for a lot of people.
Man.
Yeah.
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 Loss is a part of the experience, actually. Like, remember when we taught together, we lost students when we lost Mo. I'll never forget how upside down my world felt, how the class felt. It's an unfortunate reality, but that is a part of the experience. Like, going back to good or bad.
Right.
You can't undo being a part of a community that is ride or die.
But it's part of the experience you remember, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how old were you? That was elementary school you were talking about, or was that into high school?
I was in high school. No, actually, no. He passed after I graduated from high school.
Oh, okay.
But
you experienced other things,
mm-hmm.
other losses like that while you were in school here.
Yes, students. Definitely, that's being a teacher and losing students is. I don't know how you put it into words because you're grieving, and then you're managing the grief of your students who are also impacted.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to teach and you have to go to professional development. Like, there's so much happening at one time. And I just remember feeling the need to just sit and then do a lot of emotional check-in with myself and my students. And so that became a part of the teaching and the learning. Mm-hmm. Right? It becomes less about curriculum and more about life lessons. And I think that was one of the great rewards of being a teacher here, is that we were facilitators of learning, but that included life lessons.
Yeah. That's a topic that's come up on this podcast multiple times. Mm-hmm. The idea of the academic portion of the experience is just one of the pieces of it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more, a lot of those soft skills we were talking about, but generally just the experiential part of it is as significant as the academic part of it.
Absolutely.
So what was that experience like for you as a student here at Lincoln?
What experience?
When you were a student here.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like for you as a student here?
Oh, when I was a student here.
Classes you liked, teachers you liked, passions. How did you find yourself at Lincoln? How did you grow up here? What was that like?
Do you have like 5 hours for me to tell a story? The experience of being...
No, by the way, no, we don't have 5 hours.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks. The experience of being a Lincoln High School student is like no other. First of all, it feels like a family, or it felt like a family when I went here, for multiple reasons. There were several staff members at the time who were also my mom's teachers. And so the legacy of I was here for your mom, and then now I'm here for you, made me feel safe, made me feel seen.
That continued into your experience as a teacher here too, right? Like you taught with someone who taught you.
Yes.
Mr. Green, right?
Yes. So actually, too, Mr. Green and Mr. McKinney.
Mr. McKinney.
And what was really funny is that when I became a principal, I was Mr. McKinney's boss.
Oh
So
no.
when you talk about like full circle,
Yeah.
so yeah, it continued when I got here. So that was a part of it. The other part of it was there was a sense of authenticity and realness that came from the staff at the site. So it almost felt like they were aunts and uncles and like deeply connected to who we were. So it wasn't just about our academic success, but it was also about you need to act right. You
Mm,
need to be a good human being. You need to get your SHIT together,
right.
right? Um, and we received that, and our families were open to it. Like they knew that that was a part of how we took care of each other, that that was how, we loved each other. I had really low self-esteem when I first got here, and it was here at Lincoln that teachers really embedded in me this level of confidence that was about me. It
Hmm.
wasn't about being like other people. It was about just being precious. Like you don't have to try to be like this athlete, and you don't have to try to be like this person. Like just be yourself, whatever that was, right? So I was on this journey to figure out who I was, and I figured it out here.
That was my next question. Did you figure it out?
I did.
How? Like, were you involved in programs and sports,
So I think
friendships?
it
Like
was a
what?
combination
Okay.
of things. I remember, there's like certain electives that everybody wants to be a part of, choir
Hmm.
and, art. I couldn't dance and I couldn't sing. I definitely couldn't draw. But I was a student leader and I was a public speaker. And
There you
so I
go.
probably was the only kid who actually chose public speaking as an elective. Everyone else got dumped into the class because all the other classes were
We're full.
full.
Yeah.
So I was really able to just lean into something that I felt comfortable doing, and it didn't matter that no one else liked it. None of my friends took public speaking. And I just remember feeling like this is my element. Like, forget what everybody else is doing. Now, I did cheer and I did things like that to kind of fit in with everyone else. But what I really loved was public speaking and ASB. And it really did, and AVID. Like, I was a big AVID component.
Yeah. Same with me.
AVID completely changed my life. And so that was kind of like, that's what I was drawn to. That's what motivated me. That's what kind of kept me going. And I developed this identity. Although it was still connected to everyone else, it was my identity. There was a teacher here, Miss Pearson. She was the choir teacher, and she was also my mom's teacher. And she used to always say to me, "You know what, Precious?" And I was thinking, like, every
Right into
time
the
I'm
voice.
like, she's going to give me this wonderful compliment. And she'd say, "Your mom was just so beautiful and
Oh
smart."
no.
And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, what are you going to tell me, like, about myself? And she goes, "Well, no, you're really smart too. But your mom," and I heard that for 4 years from Miss Pearson. And so I thought, okay, that's a part of my identity. Like,
Mm,
I have my own identity, but they're never gonna let me forget the legacy that my mom is someone of value. My mom was someone they cared and loved about, and that was significant because, I grew up with my mom being a drug addict and an alcoholic. So there were people who their remembrance of my mom, their memory of my mom, what they know about my mom was really negative. And I didn't realize until I got older how important what Miss Pearson used to say to me was so important,
mm,
because it was like, wow, like my mom has a positive identity too. That's a
yeah.
part of who I am. And so just little moments and memories like that, that's what you get when you're at Lincoln. You get the raw, you get the real, you get the good, you get the bad, you get feedback whether you want it or not. You get experiences that are going to make you toughen up. Like I remember running and hiding because we thought somebody was getting ready to do a drive-by shooting in front of the school. Like, but that was part of who we were. We learned how to run and duck and hide. Like you just, I don't know, you
I don't know if
embrace.
I've ever heard anyone put a positive spin on an experience like that. Because the stereotype that the
Yeah.
stereotype that the community outside of Lincoln has is the violence and the danger and the drugs and all that stuff, um, and they hold it against the community,
Mm,
right? It's
Yeah.
absolute negative judgment of the community because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
kind of
you're right.
refreshing. I don't know if I've ever thought of it like that.
But what it
There's a unity that comes from
there
that.
is a unity, and there's action, and it's like juxtaposition, but there's also some safety. Like, I don't remember any of my friends ever saying that they didn't feel safe coming to school. And when you think about
Yeah.
now, with like school shootings and all these things, and kids having anxiety about going to school, we were dealing with some stuff and some potential stuff,
Hmm.
but we still came to school. We still showed up. And I wish we could like pull attendance records, because yeah, we had truancy officers,
Right.
right, for the handful that didn't come to school. For the rest of us, if anything, we were late and ditching and leaving early, but we still came to school. We still felt safe. There was a sense of community that if we weren't here, we were missing out.
Yeah.
We needed to be here at school.
I'm happy to announce that that idea of the student first and um, the connection in the family, that kind of stuff, is still essential to Lincoln High
Yeah.
School.
I
Yeah.
totally believe it.
Yeah.
I totally believe it, because it was that way when I was a teacher here.
Miss Harvey just told me a story about her chasing a student down for misbehaving. And when I say chasing down, I mean literally running after the student and then going classroom to classroom to find him, just to hold him accountable,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Good for you.
That's going to be the kid that years from now is going to be on the podcast talking about how Miss Harvey
Mm-hmm.
showed love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Showed love. I hope that's what it is.
Yeah.
That seems to be the kind of thing you're talking about. To backtrack a little bit, you said that you found yourself in classes that sound to be academic based rather than sort of elective based, fun. Lots of kids express themselves through art, music, and sports and stuff. But for you, it was public speaking and AVID, which is college, career, research heavy type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if you experienced any sort of imposter syndrome while you were here. Was the fact that you were a little more academic than most students something that is kind of made you stand out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't know what imposter syndrome was then, but yes, I experienced it. What got me through that
Mhm.
experience was street cred. I remember coming in as a freshman, and the AVID class was a 912 AVID class,
Mhm.
and there were two seniors in there who I won't say their names, but you know, they were from Lincoln Park. Everybody knew they were from Lincoln Park. And I knew enough about the neighborhood and the community to know that people would hang on to the most simple things, like having the favorite color red.
Mhm.
And so we had to do an icebreaker. You had to stand up and like say 4 things about yourself. And you know, favorite color seems to be the easiest answer. And so I remember I said the 4 things, and one of the 4 things was that my favorite color is red. And I remember one of the seniors saying, oh, blood, did she just say that? And I was like, yeah, I like the color red. And he was like, not at this school. And I was like, I'm going to wear it at this school. And it was just like this little exchange where it was like, I didn't feel threatened by him. I almost felt like maybe he was trying to prove his own status. Like, I'm
Mhm.
a senior and I run things,
A
and,
little bit of pecking
you
order
know,
type stuff.
yeah. And
Okay.
he was a short guy. Maybe he had little man complex or
Maybe.
whatever. Um,
Mhm.
And so what ended up happening after that, number one, it never came up again. Like, they never bothered me. They didn't bully me. You know, it wasn't a thing. But as I remember, as the year went on, they start calling me like the little homie. And they kept saying, she's smart. She a smart one. Like, she's a smart one. She gonna, you know, she gonna go somewhere. She's gonna do something. And I thought, wow, like all I had to do was stand up for myself and like claim my favorite color. And so it allowed me to really be comfortable with that space of,
Yeah.
you might not be like everybody else, but you're not so different that you can't be respected and you can't be embraced.
Yeah, there's a
And
respect for you being
yeah.
you.
And then they gave me the nickname Miss Intelligent. And so that was my name all throughout high school. That's the name I got put on my Letterman's jacket senior year. And people kept saying, why do they call you Miss Intelligent? And someone might say, oh, because she's so smart. And I was like, actually, it's not about the book smarts. It's about a combination. It's
Yeah, yeah.
street smarts and book smart. And it's really being able to show that you can be both.
Yeah.
Like you can do both. And that's why I'm Miss Intelligent. Like I'm not Miss Intelligent because I wasn't that smart. I will be honest with you. I had to work hard for my A's. They didn't come naturally.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, they
A
didn't
lot of
come
people think it
naturally.
just comes naturally.
No,
Yeah.
no,
I
my
see students
God.
working hard.
I struggled in reading. I struggled in math. I remember in high school, I had to go to math tutoring every week. I would have never passed a math class if I didn't go to math tutoring every week. And that's how Mr. Green and I got close
Mhm.
because he'd be like, you got to come to tutoring. And I'd be like, okay. You know, it was either lunch or after school. I always had to go to math tutoring. And that continued through college, by the way. I wouldn't have passed college math without going to tutoring. So,
Well, you brought it up, so let's talk about the transition to college.
yeah,
Where did you end up going to an HBCU, correct?
I did.
How did that process work for you?
Oh my
Was it
God.
through your Avid class? Like a
So
lot of the
believe it or no,
process. Okay.
again, it was back to Lincoln. We
Okay.
used to have what's called the Gold Coast Classic in San Diego, and that is when two Black colleges would come to San Diego. They would play each other in football. There'd be a step show, right? All these things. And so one year, Howard University played Morgan State out of Baltimore, and the football team practiced on our little old tiny football field
Oh,
back in the day.
Wow.
And because I was a cheerleader, they invited the cheerleaders to do a dance performance with their cheerleaders for the opening show. And the actual football game was at what used to be Qualcomm
Qualcomm, yeah.
Stadium. And I just
Maybe even
felt,
Jack Murphy way back in the day.
yeah,
Let's admit we're getting old.
we are getting
Okay.
old. We are like old. And I'll never forget the performance was to Kirk Franklin's Stomp. And back then it was such
Mhm.
a big, iconic song, even for non-Christians and non-believers, right? Everybody was dancing to that song. And so that was my first introduction to Howard University. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. And then I was really fortunate enough to be a part of another program called Aaron Price Fellows. Aaron Price Fellows took us on a trip in 11th grade, and one of the chaperones, who was a Black man, decided that he wanted the Black students on the trip to see another side of DC that you don't usually show
Mhm.
tourists, right? Because they had this trip planned for us, and it was perfect. White House, this, that.
This is all sounding familiar. Like
Oh, is it?
here, well, not in that way. It's like Lincoln High School, tight knit community built here. Not the place you would take the tourist in San
Yeah.
Diego,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And then you go to DC and
Mhm.
Howard,
Yeah.
similar vibe, circumstance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we had like 2.5, 3 hours of downtime.
Mhm.
And he was like, look, if you guys are ready, we're going to hop on the
Oh,
train.
nice.
We're going to head on with Howard. We're going to let you see it. And we got to hurry up and get back because it's not a part of, the schedule.
Right.
And when I stood on that campus, I was like, this is where I'm going to go. And I was like, whatever it takes, this is where I'm going to go to school. And
So there's a big,
that's how I got there.
yeah, there's a big, like, the significance of finding a college that's right for you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Not just what it says on paper, but
Mhm.
experiencing the visit,
Yeah.
looking at things like demographic and programs offered and school life and those kinds of things, right?
Yeah. And the feeling,
The
like,
feeling.
because I don't recommend people go far away to a school that they've never been to. But, that's also how I chose Lincoln. Like, despite the fact that my mom went here,
Mhm.
I got bussed out for middle school because Lincoln Park community did not have a middle school, right? That's a whole nother
Yeah,
conversation.
exactly.
So I got bussed out because I had to. And 8th grade, when they start asking us what high schools we were going to go to, I told my mom that I wanted to go and visit the high schools. And we came to
check.
visit Lincoln.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'd heard all these things about Lincoln. I had family members that went to Lincoln, but it wasn't until I walked on the campus and I met the ninth grade counselor, who at that time was Harold Moore.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, Mom, I want to go to Lincoln. And she was like, are you sure? And I went back to my middle school and I told my counselor, Miss Schwartz, and she was pissed. And she was like, you
can
can't
tell just by the way you said her name.
you know,
Miss
like
Schwartz.
you can't, that's not a good idea. You're better than that. There's all, these other schools that will give you amazing opportunities. And she called my mom and she's like, I need to meet with you because we need to talk about Precious's decision to go to Lincoln. And my mom was like, oh, we talked about it. Now, mind you, maybe drugs and alcohol. My mom just trusted me to my own decisions. But she told her,
Mhm.
like, oh, we talked about it. I took her to visit. And she says she wants to go to Lincoln. So she's going to go to Lincoln.
Student we had here last episode, Paulina, was scheduled to go or was trying to go to UC, but missed the deadline, ended up at Lincoln by default.
Wow.
And after that first year, decided she wasn't going anywhere else.
Yeah.
I wish that counselor in middle school could recognize that about Lincoln. There's the value of this place.
Absolutely.
There's so much to talk about. So, Howard, what was your experience like there?
I love my Black people. I really do. And so there's so much to be said about the cultural nuances that you experience when you're at a historically Black college versus...
Sorry.
It's okay.
Carly, our first guest, was talking about that experience when she got to UCLA. Exactly.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's not just the Southeast Black.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All kinds of
all around the
diaspora.
world.
Is that the word?
Yes, the diaspora.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There you go.
Like one of the most amazing first experiences I had was walking in the cafeteria. We didn't call it a cafeteria, but where we went to eat. And I walked past this guy and I was like, what language is he speaking? And I just kind of eavesdropped on the conversation for a little bit, had no idea what the man was saying. And I waited for him to get off the phone. And I said, excuse me, were you just speaking French? And he just kind of looked at me like, yeah, like I said, and clearly it was my ignorance because in Southeast, you speak English or you speak Spanish. And if you speak Spanish, that's great, right? Because you're bilingual. This guy knew 5 languages. And then I realized that was more of a norm. I actually was coming with a deficit because there were Black people from all over the world who spoke so many different languages. And I realized at that time that I had a lot to learn about Black people. Like I thought I knew everything there was to know about Black people. And so I wouldn't trade that for the world. And then to be around Black people who had a certain level of intellect. And we're talking intellect on all levels. We're not just talking about, oh, you're smart because you got a good grade on your SAT or you can read books or you can do math. We're
more
talking
like a general curiosity.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And we held each other to certain standards because of that level of intellect. I remember there was a guy that I met at Howard who was from San Diego, and he was from Skyline. And the reason I found out is because this fool was walking around campus with a red rag hanging out of his pocket. And so there was a couple of folks from Lincoln High School, maybe 1 or 2 from SCPA, 1 or 2 from Morris. And I just remember us all talking like, one of y'all better go tell him that this is not like you're in college, like we're in a different world, like no one cares. But he was so tied to that identity, he didn't recognize that now it's time for you to grow your identity and expand your identity. Like no one cares about that. And so obviously being here in San Diego, nobody would have told him that. But we had to hold him accountable up there.
I mean, that's kind of part of the imposter syndrome as well, I would think. Like maybe you were able to avoid some of the impact of being a Black woman in higher education, academia, because you went to a school that had that that culture that you're talking about, right? Had you gone to a school that was, I don't know, predominantly white, the imposter syndrome may have weighed more heavy on you, right? But for a gentleman who's wearing that red rag in his pocket, right, at the college level, for everyone to kind of, I don't want to say set him straight, but it's got to be like a little bit of a wake up call.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's like a looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like
what
a
do you
reflective
see?
piece. Okay. Yeah.
You know, like, why are you here? What's your purpose? What's your why? I definitely think that that's a part of it. But I did ask myself, like, do I really belong here? Because when you don't
Ooh.
know other people's stories, you start to question your own
Right.
story.
Right.
At least at Lincoln, I knew the background of my peers, right? And my
So
classmates.
is that a matter of just being? Is that a matter of newness, of just being around people that you aren't familiar with the stories of yet, or is that a real sense of not feeling like you don't fit in?
It's a real sense of feeling like you
Oh,
don't fit in.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's like I didn't speak as many languages as
Yeah.
them. And the reality is, there were a group of students that came from like Howard legacies or legacies of other HBCUs.
Mhm.
There were children of doctors and lawyers and politicians, and they walked around that campus like they deserved to be there, like they
The
had a
diaspora.
right to be
The
there,
diaspora, right?
right? And so I did question my own presence. Like, do I really deserve to be here? Did I really earn my spot here? And it just took time for me to understand it. It could have actually been the opposite. Maybe
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
didn't earn their spot. Like, they're here because of who their parents are. And so you just kind of learn those nuances, and you learn to be in community with those people regardless, right? You
Mhm.
really learn. But I learned that from being here at Lincoln.
Well, I mean, you may have just answered this, but is your feeling of um, inadequacy, for lack of a better word, was that part of, like, is it because I'm from Lincoln? Did that have anything to do with the idea that you questioned whether or not you belonged?
I guess I
Because
never really thought about it, but yeah.
there is a reputation of, we've talked about it on this podcast. I talk about it with my students regularly, that the quality of education or experience you get here at Lincoln is not equal to that of a school north of
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
That a 4.0 from Lincoln is not the
Not
same
the
as a
same.
4.0 from there.
Yes. Absolutely. That's very true.
Okay.
And
Well, are you
this
saying that statement is true, or that the feeling is true?
the feeling is true,
Okay.
but the statement is also true. I think now that I've gone into the world of education,
Mhm.
and I've been in other classrooms in other communities, there is a difference in the education, good or bad,
Right.
right? There is a difference. And that is something that I don't think I necessarily felt bad about it, but it is something that needs to be recognized, that a fourth grade education is not the same across the board. Like you said, a 4.0 is
Right.
not the same across the board. And so part of the transition to college is really learning that regardless of where you enter, and we say this about kiddos when we get them all the time, regardless of where they enter, their educational experience should be top notch, regardless. And they should always leave better than the way they came.
And they're deserving of that.
Absolutely.
They're deserving of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.